let's review everything you need to know in Unit 3 of AP World History Modern. Before we get going, 3 things. First, today is a new day. This period is a new period, and I keep stressing periodization in these videos because it truly does matter. And today we start the early modern period, 1450 to 1750. That doesn't mean you should delete everything that you learned from Unit 1 and Unit 2. We will build on that knowledge as we time drop from 1200 to 1450 to 1450 to 1750. Second, this is a review video. This is a review of everything you should have learned in Unit 3. If you need some more background, I have videos on my channel, or head over to FREEMAN-PEDIA.com, or hell, I don't know, dust off that old textbook your teacher gave you on day 1. Better yet, head over to the Ultimate Review Packet and get the dangerously low-priced review of the entire course, where I walk you through the whole thing with practice sheets, review videos, full exams, essay breakdowns, all the stuff you're going to wish you had when we get to the exam in May. Third, while you're over at the Ultimate Review Packet, download the study guide I made you for Unit 3. It walks you through all the key parts of what I'm going to be talking about today. But you clicked on this video for Unit 3 review stuff, so let's review Unit 3 stuff. Like I said earlier, we're in a new period. Unit 3, the land-based empires, and Unit 4, transoceanic interconnections, are both happening between 1450 and 1750. You may recall that Units 1 and 2 happened at the same time. Well, the same thing for Units 3 and 4. Dates don't matter. Chronology and periodization do matter. So we have entered the second quarter of the course. Say goodbye to the Mongols, say hello to the empires. That's right, Unit 3 and Unit 4 both focus on the new, larger empires. I know, the Mongols had the biggest empire ever, kind of. But I'm talking empires with staying power. The Ottoman Empire, the Mughal Empire, the Spanish Empire, the British Empire. These lasted for centuries, not decades. As for Unit 3, this unit focuses in on the land-based empires. If you walked along the Silk Road back in the year 1300, you passed through a ton of different states along the way. In the year 1600, you could do it in like 4 or 5 states. All that means is that power has been consolidated into a few major empires. And you are required to know the following empires. First, the Manchu Empire, aka the Qing dynasty in East Asia. Second, the Ottoman Empire in the Middle East. Third, the Mughal Empire in South Asia. And fourth, the Safavid Empire, also in the Middle East. So that's the big picture. Focus on these big 4 empires. Your teacher may have gone into details about other groups like Russia or the Songhai or the Inca, and that's great. Know them for your test in your class. The College Board does say there were large empires in both hemispheres, but never names anything by name except the big 4. So as far as the AP exam in May is considered, focus on your MOMS. No, literally, that's the acronym MOMS. Manchu, Ottomans, Mughals, and Safavids. Your MOMS. The majority of your study and review for Unit 3 should be focused on your MOMS. The beauty of Unit 3, maybe over any other unit in AP World History, is that they give you some pretty specific things to focus on when you're looking at these big empires. Remember Unit 1, the global tapestry? They were like, these states were states that maintain continuities and innovating diversity while whatever. Unit 3 doesn't play you like that. They come right out and tell you what you should be focusing on. So as we review today, we will answer the following 4 questions. Question 1, how did these land-based empires come to power? Question 2, once they're in power, how do they rule or maintain that power? Question 3, who are they clashing with? In other words, who are their main rivals? And finally, question 4, what role do the belief systems play in these empires? So that's our focus. That's our lens as we review. Unit 4 will bring a whole host of other issues and focal points. But here, today, in Unit 3, how do you get power? How do you stay in power? Who are you fighting? And what do you believe? Today's review will answer these 4 questions for each of your MOMS. Let's do this chronologically. First, the Ottoman Empire. I like to call the Ottomans the College Board's boyfriend because they're mentioned in this thing, the CED, a total of 32 times. That's like twice the amount of times the Mongols are mentioned and 3 times the amount that the Mughals are mentioned. So don't sleep on the Ottomans. Question 1, how did the Ottoman Turks come to power? Spoiler, this is the same answer for all of these empires. If you remember one thing from this entire review, it should be this word, gunpowder. I know you thought I was going to say your mom's again, but no, it's gunpowder. Originating in China like 400 years before this course even began, like in 800 CE. But by 1450, gunpowder is how you win wars in the early modern period. Why are the Ottomans in power? Why are the Mughals in power? Why are the British and Spanish so powerful? Easy. Gunpowder. In 1453, the Ottoman Turks finally did the unthinkable and busted through the walls of Constantinople. The Eastern Romans, what historians call the Byzantines, are finally done. The western capital of planet Earth, Constantinople, has fallen. Soon, it'll get a name change. Constantinople, today you know it as Istanbul. From here, they expanded outward along the trade routes to rule over much of the Mediterranean Middle East. So how did they come to power? Well, big-ass cannons like this one knocked down the walls, and the Ottoman Turks are now in charge. Now that they're in charge, get used to them. They are in Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, and Unit 7. Question 2, once the Ottomans are in power, how do they maintain that power? The simple answer here is also gunpowder, but the real answer is more complex. First, you got to know a vocab word here. It's the Turkish word devshirme, meaning the collecting. Devshirme was a system in which the Ottomans would go and collect, which is a nice way of saying forcibly recruited, which is a nice way of saying kidnapped. So they collected or kidnapped children from their territories in Eastern Europe, castrated them, and brought them back to Istanbul and trained them in one of 4 categories. You could work at the palace, you could be a religious scholar, you could work as a scribe, or you could work in the military. If you were tracked into the military, you were a janissary. That's right, these guys. Remember all that gunpowder talk a minute ago? Yeah, the janissaries have the gunpowder. Once you're in the devshirme, you cut ties with your family, convert to Islam, and are basically the core of the bureaucracy of the Ottoman Empire. In fact, many of the Grand Viziers in the Ottoman Empire were from the devshirme system. Grand Viziers, by the way, were the second highest ranking person in the entire Ottoman Empire behind the Sultan or the Sultan. You ever play chess? Yes, you do. You play chess? Great. Originally, the queen was the Grand Vizier. So think of the power a queen wields on a chessboard. That's what the Grand Vizier did for the Ottoman Empire. So the Ottomans used the devshirme system to help run their empire. Another way they rule? Flexing. There is no bigger flex than to build massive monumental architecture. Think about a house you might like to live in one day. Maybe something like this, or maybe something like this. Mehmet II, yes, the guy who took down the Byzantines, was like, how about we build this? The Topkapi Palace. Suleiman was so magnificent that he built this mosque, the Suleimanli Mosque. Suleiman liked it so much, he's there right now. It's a mausoleum. That's strangely a vocab word you actually need to know. These powerful emperors and sultans or whoever, they built these large, massive mausoleums. It's like a storage unit for your corpse when you're dead. The most famous is probably the Taj Mahal in the Mughal Empire, but every empire in this period built monumental architecture. And not just your moms, the French, the Russians, Tokugawa Japan, the Incas, everybody's building monumental architecture. Last thing on how the Ottomans maintained power, tax farming. I've got a whole video on this on my channel if you're interested for some reason, but basically, they would let people bid on the right to tax the people. They would farm out the ability to tax. The Ottomans would then not have to worry about tax collecting, and the Sultan would get a guaranteed set amount from the tax farmer. Question 3, who are they clashing with? Who are their main rivals? The Ottomans are kind of a big deal, so they were clashing with everyone around them. They fought with the Austrian Empire in the north. The Catholic regions of Europe even assembled into the Holy League to fight the Ottoman expansion into Europe. But maybe more notably, they fought with their rivals to the east, the Safavids. The Safavids were Shia, the Ottomans were Sunni, plus they were both expanding towards each other. The Ottomans are heading east, the Safavids are heading west. They fought over a dozen wars in this period. And finally, question 4, what role did the belief systems play in the Ottoman Empire? Well, we already said that they were majority Sunni, but they are ruling a very religiously diverse area. So, for the Ottomans, focus on their millet system. Basically, the millet system is where they divided their empire into millets, or nations. This meant that the Jews, or the Armenian Christians, or the Roman Catholics, all of these groups have their own nation, or millet. These millets had their own court, collected taxes, but in the end, owed their loyalty to the Sultan. This is textbook religious tolerance. Not that they're necessarily supporting or endorsing another religion, they are tolerating it. How are you doing on the old study guide, by the way? The Ottomans are a big one, and Unit 3 is the Ottomans at their most powerful. Let's check back in with your moms. We've met the Ottomans, right? Next up, chronologically, the Safavids. So for the Safavids, how'd you get in power? How do you stay in power? Who were you fighting, and what do you believe? Question 1, how did the Safavids come to power? This one isn't as dramatic as the Ottomans. They basically filled a power vacuum that existed after the demise of the Turco-Mongolian Timurid dynasty in 1506. Shah Ismail conquered a bunch of local rivals and declared a Shia Islamic state known as the Safavid Empire. Question 2, once the Safavids are in power, how do the Safavids rule or maintain that power? All right, I'll be honest, there's really only one thing to know about the Safavids. They were Shia Muslims, meaning they believed that Ali was the true caliph or heir to Muhammad way back in the 7th century. They then developed into their own branch of Islam that today accounts for about 10% of all Muslims. But this was a major factor for the Safavids. If you were in the Safavid Empire, you had to be Shia, and this allowed them to use their faith as a way of maintaining power over their people. It's the main reason that roughly 95% of Iran today identifies as Shia. Question 3, who are they clashing with? We already mentioned the whole Sunni-Shia territorial rivalry thing with the Ottomans. Well, they have something similar, perhaps to a lesser extent, with the Sunni Mughals to the east. And finally, question 4, what role do the belief systems play in the Safavid Empire? One last time, the Safavids were Shia. It was mandatory. It led them to clash with their Sunni neighbors to the east and to the west. And it is the distinguishing feature of the Safavid Empire. If you know one thing about the Safavids, it's that they practice Shia Islam. All right, 2 down, 2 to go. Try and keep up on that study guide, by the way, or just do it later. Look at your life, do whatever you want. But when you can write stuff down in your own words, you, my friend, are learning. Cool, let's stay chronological here. Let's answer the 4 questions for the richest of these empires, talking about the Mughal Empire. Question 1, how did the Mughals come to power? Easy, gunpowder. Just like the Ottomans taking down the Byzantines, the Mughals took down the old Delhi Sultanate on April 20th, 1526. Pretty sure that's why everyone makes such a big deal on 420. People just really love the rise of the Mughals. Question 2, once the Mughals are in power, how do they maintain that power? Think of the Mughals like the Ottomans. They are ruling over an incredibly diverse group of people, and therefore they almost have to be tolerant to survive. The Mughals are Sunni Muslim, and the majority of India is Hindu. So you will see a series of tolerant Muslim leaders, culminating with this guy, Akbar the Great. How great is he? His name literally means Great the Great, so pretty great. This all comes to an end with Aurangzeb, who was, let's just say, not tolerant of the Hindus and Sikhs in his empire. Like the Ottomans, they have a unique tax collection system, because what's the point of having a massive empire if you can't extract taxes from your subjects? The Mughals had a pretty simple idea. They figured that there are all these local rulers all over the massive empire. Why not make those people responsible for collecting taxes for you? And that's what zamindars are, local elites who would collect taxes on behalf of the ruling Mughal Empire. I mentioned this a minute ago, but there's no more monumental architecture than the Taj Mahal. I mean, look at this thing. It's a mausoleum, meaning the 5th Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan built it for his wife, Mumtaz Mahal, hence the name. If you know one building for this entire course, make it the Mughal Mausoleum, known as the Taj Mahal. Question 3, who are they clashing with? The Mughals do clash with the Safavids, but I'll do you one better. Remember how I said the Mughals were tolerant of the Hindus? Well, some of those Hindus didn't find them tolerant enough and formed a Hindu alliance known as the Marathas. The Marathas are almost constantly clashing with the Mughals and eventually bring down the Mughal Empire in the next period. I know, your textbook says the British took down the Mughals, but when the British finally take the old Mughal capital of Delhi in the 1800s, it's a Maratha city, not a Mughal one. And question 4, what role did the belief systems play in the Mughal Empire? The Mughals were Sunni, the masses were Hindu, but there was a new religion. This is one of the last ones you need to know for the course. These are the Sikhs. Sikhs follow the teachings of Guru Nanak. The short version is that Sikhism takes from both Hinduism and Islam and tries to focus less on ceremony and more on doing good works and helping people. One left. Your study guide should be filling up quite nicely about now. This one should go quickly because, like most groups who ruled China, the Manchus are taking over a system that's been around for thousands of years. Question 1, how did the Manchus come to power? The previous dynasty, the Ming dynasty, lost the mandate of heaven for a myriad of reasons, and the Manchus, the people from Manchuria, which is in northeast China, invaded and took power. They then took the Chinese name, the Qing dynasty. Question 2, how did the Manchus maintain that power? Pay attention here. The Qing dynasty is arguably the most important Chinese dynasty in AP world history. But, and I know this sounds weird, in May, when you're studying for the exam, you're probably not going to remember this part of the Manchus or the Qing dynasty. Why? The Qing dynasty is a massively big deal in units 6 and 7. So here's the basics that you won't remember. Remember how the Ottomans had their millet system where each nation would rule? Well, the Manchus do that too. It's called the banner system. Before the Manchus united, they were a bunch of different groups of the Jurchen people. When they united, each tribe had semi-autonomy or self-rule under their banners. As they conquered, they added new banners. The Han Chinese had a banner, the Mongols even had a banner. Like the millets in the Ottoman Empire, the banners owed all their loyalty to the Manchu emperor. These banners would have armies run the census, collect taxes, and the bannermen who ran the different banners became the new nobility of the Qing dynasty. So that's how they were organized, but how did they get the best people into the best jobs? Remember the Ottomans used the Devshirme or the Gathering? The Manchus, they used the civil service exam. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Oh, and for monumental architecture, they built a whole frickin' city, the Forbidden City. Question 3. Who are they clashing with? Periodization can be weird, and the Manchus are a victim of the AP World History timeline. Their main rivals will be the Europeans when they arrive in Units 4, 5, and 6, so for now, let's just put a pin in that one. And finally, question 4. What role do the belief systems play in the Manchu Empire? Well, just like the civil service exam, the Manchus eventually take up both Buddhism and Confucianism as their guiding belief systems. I mean, the Chinese system has worked for like 1,500 years, so it would be insane to just throw it out completely. All right, that was a big unit, and honestly, there are other land-based empires that aren't specifically named by the College Board, like the Incas, the Aztecs, the Songhai, even Tokugawa Japan. But if you stick with your moms, Manchus, Ottomans, Mughals, and Safavids, you should be good for the exam in May. Need more help? Your best bet is to sign up for the Ultimate Review Packet. The same place you got those handy study guides has practice sheets, a full practice exam, and a bunch of other stuff like that. I will literally walk you through the entire course and the exam and everything else related to AP World History. All right, that's half of this period, 1450 to 1750. The other side of the story plays out at exactly the same time, just with a different focus. In Unit 4, Transoceanic Interconnections. See you then.